deep.
Yeah. So I don't know, is he fighting for the no division, or is the no division representing?
I guess that's the whole idea, right? It's making you think about it.
That's why I love art. Because you can almost never really come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually really cool now that I think about it, because I think it's kind of like, I think it's sort of similar to having like a specific lifestyle where nothing is like, I shouldn't say nothing is enough, but like you're almost a perfectionist in the sense where like everything means so much to you, and you want to just make sure that everything you do is 110%.
Definitely.
And it's kind of like art, where it's because nothing can be 100%, nothing can be perfect. It's literally like, that's just art, in my opinion. I literally just came to that conclusion right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, man. You know what? I usually don't quote Drake, and honestly, like I may get like made fun of for that. But he said something the other day, because I don't know if he saw that he got the Artist of the Decade by Billboard. Yeah. And when he did his speech, I was like, all right, let's see what this guy's about to say. And like normally they go up there and like, you know, they have like a little bit of cockiness and like, you know, they're confident and they're proud of obviously what they just did. But this guy went up there and he's like, honestly, like these last 10 years, I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew what I was doing the entire time. Pretty much the entire time I was trying to be successful. I was struggling trying to keep up with that success, and that kind of motivated him to just keep pushing. And kind of like that feeling of being lost is what kind of pushes these people to kind of be greater. And I kind of I struggle with that every day, right? Because we're super busy and I'm always trying to get a grasp of everything, but to have that feeling of you know, that feeling of like being lost and not being able to do everything and kind of always feeling behind will always kind of push you to be you know, a little bit better. So I don't know if that kind of relates to anything that you just said, but that was something that Drake quoted the other day. I was like, that's, you know, we always struggle trying to have everything you know, perfect, or trying to be able to do everything, but the fact that we're unable to do everything and at least we keep trying is what, you know, kind of pushes us more forward. Does that make sense? 100%.
100% makes sense. And I do resonate with that a lot, because it's pretty similar to kind of like what I was trying to go off. And it's just a really fascinating thing, because we're just fueling ourselves with, I don't know, you know, like
it's deep. It's kind of like just you're fueling yourself with that like that insecurity that you may lose everything that you may have, and that's kind of, I guess, what, you know, pushes you forward. Because I find if you get too comfortable, that's when you know, things can, you know, start going downhill, or you'll make mistakes, or you'll stop focusing on every little detail. But if you constantly have that fear that you know, that you're not perfect, you need to be better, that'll definitely kind of help push forward. And that's kind of what I know I've been like. And when I heard that speech, it's like, holy crap, like I can relate to that like crazy, you know? Yeah, definitely.
I can totally relate to that as well. Actually, the one, like, I think it was like one of our first like 3 or 4 podcasts that we had with Aaron and Matt. We were speaking about just like, the insecurity of failing, of just understanding that it goes from being something where you're too scared of it, where, you know, you don't even want to start. You're so afraid of failing that you don't even want to start, right? Some people are like that. And then it kind of goes to a next step where it's like, the fear of failure is what fuels you, like literally, like, just like what you said. And then after that, you realize that like nothing is impossible, and like
like it's a double-edged sword, right? Like you need to be fearless, and like you can't be scared of failing, but at the same time you need to have that insecurity of failing that's going to kind of prevent you from failing. So like I feel like I'm almost like speaking gibberish when I'm trying to explain that, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Like you have to be able to, because we're all going to fail regardless, one way or another. There's nobody who doesn't fail. So you just have to be ready to embrace that, but also be ready to, you know, put in the work to not fail at the same time, and then eventually it'll kind of work its way out.
How have you found failures to be with the restaurant?
Well, I mean, like, so we just opened up the restaurant in December. I started the company 2 years ago, and quite frankly, this company was built off of failures, right? Like, I was in the restaurant industry for 10 years before I started this company, and it was all the failures that kind of honestly pushed me towards creating something like that, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, our company is very, very strong, and we encourage, like, chef entrepreneurship, and we encourage, you know, the freedom of creativity and kind of expressing, like, the chef's personal self. Yeah. Because in the restaurant industry, you're almost, like, destined to, I don't want to say destined to fail, because there's a lot of chefs out there that are doing incredible.
Right.
But the structure is so restricting. So let me put it this way. This is a way that I like to explain my concept, that really, really helps people understand exactly what we're trying to do. I'm a very big hip hop head, you know. Okay, that's why I said before, like we started filming, like I like the urban feel to it. I like that graffiti, and I like to compare that because underground hip hop artists, I'm not sure if you're familiar or not, but they're not signed to no record label. They're not restricted with what they can say. They do whatever the hell they want. They do it how they want, and they express their culture how they want to do it with no cares in the world. That's exactly what we're trying to do as chefs, right? You can go to a restaurant and you have to, try to cater to a certain clientele. You have to try to restrict what you want to offer to try to, make your bosses happy or to make your clientele happy. But with our company, it's just about giving the pure freedom of expression and being able to cook whatever the hell you want. We've been able to build this structure around our company that people know that we just do what we want. We do new menus every day. We do new features every day. We bring in new chefs every day, and it's just literally just doing what we want. So we're trying to almost revolutionize that aspect of the industry and to give a lot more freedom. So that's why I said, like, our restaurant is not a traditional restaurant. We don't have a head chef. We don't have a main menu. We change cuisines every day. We change chefs every day.
That's kind of dope.
Yeah, we do whatever the hell we want. And that's why, again, like I compared it to underground hip hop, and that's why we're called the Underground Flavour Group. The group is because we're a group of chefs. We've worked with hundreds of chefs from across Ontario to create this organization. The underground, I already explained that, and then of course we threw the flavor in there because that's what it's all about at the end of the day, right? So that is all literally just based off of those failures. Failures of keeping up with the clientele or failures of keeping up with certain menus where our structure, there's not, you can do whatever the hell you want. That failure is not really an option because there's no restrictions to put you in a failure spot. I don't know if that made sense or not.
No, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So you're just put in a position where you can't fail. That's insane. That's such a huge advantage.
Yeah, I mean, like, as long as it's respectable, right? Like, respectable and it doesn't, break the bank, then we definitely...
So how does that work? How do you just have different people every day? Is it just you just wait to see who walks in the morning? Or like?
No, I mean, like, leave it to me to create the most, like, complicated restaurant structure in this world. But it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of planning as well, too. Like, we go on a month-by-month basis. But since we launched about 2 years ago, we had these chefs just join our organization, and then traditionally what we would do is that we would actually just travel across Ontario, and we would take over establishments like galleries, farmers markets, whatever the hell you name it, to do these like one night only events, and we would reach out to chefs in the city that we're in. So for example, when obviously we were more Kitchener-Waterloo based, but when we were in like Toronto, we'd be working with Toronto chefs and showcasing these chefs for one night out of like this random ass art gallery that we turned into a restaurant for one night. So over the 2 years, we just started collaborating with more and more and more chefs, and we started to build a name. Chefs started reaching out to us too, so now we just have this large collective of chefs that we can reach out to. And now, since we launched the restaurant in December, we pretty much wanted to keep that same concept alive that we did when we were traveling across Ontario, but have it at one location. And to be honest, COVID inspired that. We probably wouldn't have done this restaurant if COVID didn't happen.
Really?
So now that we go on a month-by-month basis, so for example, for July, we already know what chefs are going to stay from this month, but now we have a bunch of open spots. So, we think about things like, okay, this one chef specializes in something random, like West African cuisine. So, like, okay, let's bring this chef in every Wednesday for this month, and let's do Wednesday completely surrounded by, like, West African cuisine. So we would change the music, we would change the, obviously, the menu, and just really, really dive deep into that culture. So, yeah, just a month-by-month basis. We're pretty much like an event hall, right? But just very, very strictly around the culinary and chef food scene.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of work though, man. There's a lot of sleepless nights trying to plan this stuff.
That's actually what's insane. Is like everyone realizes, or sorry, I shouldn't say realize. Everyone kind of understands and I suppose knows that it's actually pretty fucked to open a restaurant or like start a business. Like you just said, a lot of sleepless nights, and I think it's just crazy because I think nobody really recognizes that. I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of people like just kind of talk shit, and no one actually really realizes, like you just said, there's so much sleepless nights and so much crazy time and effort that goes into just turning this in your head into your reality in front of you. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like it definitely takes a lot of work, especially restaurants, man. Like restaurants are so complex already in trying to like keep up with the food costs, the trends, especially right now, the COVID restrictions, which has really, really put a damper on everything. Like, they're difficult enough. So, it's a tough ball game, the restaurant industry. So, I mean, anybody who's in there right now who owns a restaurant, definitely, they're all crazy in their own way, but crazy in a good way.
Definitely.
And honestly, man, like it's underrated. Like the restaurant economy is what keeps everything going, man. Like we all, we all like to go out, have some food, have some drinks, and it's what keeps everything going, I guess. 100%. I'd say. Yeah. So definitely a lot of work, a lot of sleepless nights, but that's what it takes.
So you just mentioned, I was really curious. You just mentioned trends, like keeping up with trends, seeing what's relevant. How do you do that?
I mean, if anything, it's easier for us to keep up with trends because now that we have built that structure that we can literally do what we want and it's accepted by the community and they expect it from us now. Like nobody comes to us thinking we're a steakhouse or an Italian restaurant. They're always like, they have something new going every day. So it is a little bit easier to keep up with trends. However, me personally, I don't like going directly into a trend. So say like, if the trend right now is freaking fried cauliflower, everything, like I'm not going to go and be like, hey, let's do fried cauliflower on the menu. We always want to stand down and be different. And that's very easy because every chef has a mind of their own. So we never really hit like a dead end where it's like, what do we do next? Because there's so many freaking chefs that have ideas and concepts that they want to, showcase. So there's always somebody who knows what to do next with our concept. So we don't really dive deep into those trends, but of course we don't want to drift away too far away from them either.
Right, of course. Mm-hmm. How do you just get all these chefs? I mean, are like how many chefs are in Waterloo?
A lot.
Really?
There's a lot of restaurants in Waterloo, but it's not even just Waterloo, right? Like, of course, we're Waterloo focused because that's where we originate. But we work with chefs from all across the province. Yeah. But I think what a lot of chefs find so intriguing about our concept is the freedom of creativity that I'm talking about. Because a lot of the chefs that do come into our restaurant, a lot of them are head chefs already at different establishments, and they come for literally just like, sometimes we have special events where it's just like a one day only feature of the chef, and it excites them to be able to step out of their comfort zone that they're already kind of, I don't want to say trapped into at the restaurant they are in.
Of course, it's a routine, right?
Yeah. So like, to give them the idea that I'd be like, okay, I can step away from this restaurant for one day and go to this place and do whatever the hell I want and get paid for it. Like, that's a chef's dream, right? Like, I like to compare it to artists, for example, right? We don't want to tell, you said your friend painted this, right?
Yeah, my boy Jesse.
I can't imagine how he would feel if we're like, okay, you have to paint this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and you have to stay to this structure, right?
What the fuck does that mean?
Exactly, right? So, like, why are we going to do that with chefs? Because they are doing art as well too, but art that we can taste. This is art on a canvas. We do art on a plate.
Visual senses, man.
Yeah, so we definitely don't want to keep restricting chefs like that. So I think it's very intriguing to them that they can come to a place where that is literally accepted and pushed, I guess, to be able to express themselves through their food, for sure. So at first, when we were just like a brand new concept and we were really underground and we had like no location or anything like that, a lot of chefs are like, what the hell are these people doing? But now that I think we've established ourselves a little bit, it's really not that tough getting chefs on board anymore.
That's a nice location too, right? That like patio there too on the corner.
That patio's been insane, man. These last 2 weeks I haven't slept, man. It's been crazy.
I bet. I'm a waiter. I'm a server right now at a place called Meat Point. Yeah.
Why do I know where that is? I know that name.
It's at the boardwalk.
Okay.
They used to have a location, University Plaza time ago.
Yeah. Okay.
But now it's at the boardwalk.
That's cool.
Yeah, man. So I get what you mean, though. Patios have been hectic.
Definitely.
As soon as like 1-2 place kind of opens up and someone can like get a drink somewhere.
That's it. And honestly, man, like it's amazing. Like I was the Friday that they opened 2 weeks ago, I was serving on the patio and it felt weird. It almost felt illegal. Like I'm serving, I was like, should I even be doing this? Like, are we gonna get shut down? Like, this is what has been going on for the last 2 years. That we literally feel out of our comfort zones, doing what we naturally do. Yeah. But yeah, these last 2 years have been crazy for sure.
How do you find then? Like, if it's been so crazy the last 2 years, like, how do you find the local? I suppose the support is. Are there like local fans? Are there people that actually show love around here?
Yeah, especially now more than ever, man. And honestly, like I had a feeling, like it sucks that there's a lot of restaurants that close down, and like that part obviously really sucks, and like there's nothing we can do about that now, unfortunately. But I knew when this pandemic first hit that the restaurant industry was going to strive like freaking crazy once things slowly start to, get back in there. So the love for local restaurants is definitely, we've noticed a big jump in that.
Because people miss it now, eh?
Yeah.
People are like, yo, shit, I can't go out
We take it for granted, right?
Yeah,
we did. So then now that they shut it down for 2 years, people were freaking eager to get back out there. Like me, myself, I was eager to get back out there. So it's kind of what I predicted. It sucks that, we had to lose restaurants through the process. But I think within the next like year or two, man, there's gonna be, first off, a bunch of new places opening back up, as there already has been. But these restaurants are just gonna keep blowing up.
Man, I remember I met this one guy when I worked in a factory once. He was like this older gentleman. He had a Chinese restaurant, and he said, I forget how many years ago, he sold it for however many $1 million. I think he might have had 2 locations, but he was saying like, dude, even then I realized with all these immigrants, with all this culture and like, you know, interconnectedness, you can tell that there are going to be so many varieties of restaurants. And he was talking about how it's just tough to keep up because now everyone has a fucking restaurant. So like, do you find that it's kind of tough because there's just restaurants everywhere?
Yeah. And that's also kind of, for that specific reason, is also like what inspired us to kind of go the route that we took too, right? Because just in our location alone in downtown Kitchener, we're surrounded by like 10, 15 restaurants literally within 100-meter walking distance. Yeah. So that's why we were happy to continue pushing the concept that we have, because it's unique and it does stand out. Because the restaurant industry is definitely very competitive, and there's so many of them. Like, it's nice that we live in Canada where we can be able to embrace all these different cultures. Like, I think it's amazing that we can drive down King Street and there's literally all these different cuisines and restaurants and cool places that we can go just to embrace all these different cultures. I think that's really, really freaking cool. And the more the merrier, I think, in that sense. And that's something we try to capitalize too, right? Like, just this month alone, we have Pakistani chefs, Italian chefs, Spanish chefs, Cajun chefs.
You guys ever have Turkish chefs?
No. Are you Turkish?
Oh, yeah, man.
I don't know any, but if you know any, man, send them my way.
Dude, we might have to get... I don't know, maybe. Maybe. We'll have to ask them first, but like, if you're serious, I think it'd be super cool.
I'm dead ass serious, man. We like to embrace all the different cultures we can, man.
Have you had Turkish food? Sorry to interrupt.
No, I haven't actually. Maybe.
What's your favorite country's food?
See, that's a tough question, man.
No. From what country does the most of your favorite food come from?
Well, obviously, I want to say biasly, like Latin American food, like obviously, but we have these Pakistani chefs that come in to the restaurant to like cook their food, and I never had Pakistani chef before, before we started bringing them in, and just something about their food is just so comforting. Like, it makes me feel at home. And
comforting, even though, how so?
Like,
is it just similar to?
No, it's very different. But just like when you eat this food, you can just it's just made with just so much culture and love. I've never been to Pakistan. I've never been anywhere in that area, but I eat that food and I literally feel like I'm at home. Like, this is like something I grew up with.
Someone gave a fuck while they made it.
Yeah, like you can definitely taste the, as corny as it sounds, you can taste the love that goes in that food.
No, you definitely can.
Yeah. So it's very tough to choose a different culture, especially when I've eaten so many. But if I had to choose right now, that's obviously not biasly Latin American, I probably will say like the South Asian, like Pakistani cuisine is my favorite right now.
Interesting.
For sure. Just the flavors, the combinations, and it could even potentially just be the chefs that are cooking it. But it's really good.
What do you guys have for the rest of the month?
This month, well, since we're just in the last week of June, so this month... So every Wednesday this month is the South Asian chefs that I was just mentioning. Okay. Every Thursday we actually have a different cuisine. We had like an Indian chef in 2 weeks ago. This week we have an Italian chef coming in.
Oh, so are there consistent days or are there like specific?
Yeah, so we do like monthly schedules. So for example, every Wednesday for June was the same chef coming in on rotation. I see. It would be a name trying to get 365 chefs a year.
Right.
But there are the rare occasions where we do have like just like a special event, one day only chef that comes in, and we have a couple of those next month. Like in May, at the end of May, we had these chefs that come from Trinidad that came in just for one night only, and they just blew that place up, man. Yeah, people love the Caribbean food here, man. Like, the lines out the door, it was crazy.
Jeez.
But no, next month we got some cool stuff coming in, some new cool stuff like Costa Rican, where we're starting to work with this West African chef. So we kind of just really want to embrace, all these beautiful cultures from across the world, man. And what better way to do that is by eating the food, man. Like, food is...
Right?
It's such a connector, man.
Bro, 100%. I think food dictates a lot. Like, you can kind of say that, like, if you look at someone's shoes, you can kind of tell, like, what kind of person they are. But food, I feel like, kind of determines what kind of culture they are. Like, what they have, what they're eating. I think it dictates a lot. And it's so cool.
Definitely.
You can tell a lot by a culture simply based on the food.
So you say you can tell people by their shoes. I'm wearing slippers. What do you think today?
I feel like you're loving life and the weather's nice.
It was, man. When I was waiting outside, I was like, damn, man, my feet are cold right now. But yeah, no, man, definitely food, man. Like, it's honestly, it's beautiful. Like who doesn't love it, right? And you can really connect over it. And that's why I said, like, you know, restaurants, they're so important, and we took them for granted before this pandemic, for sure.
What separates a better restaurant from a shit restaurant?
It's a great question. I think the better restaurants are places that are more unique to themselves. You know, there's a crap ton of restaurants in this city, and I definitely will not name any of them, but there's a crap ton of restaurants in the city that are so similar to each other, right? That you could have almost pretty much the same food. I think restaurants that like to create their own, like, uniqueness to their cuisines, to you know, they embrace a chef that they have, they embrace the location that they're in. Some restaurants I will name that do that are like King Street Trio. I don't know if you're familiar. Or there's Loloan Lobby Bar or Bima's. These are all places that are just unique to themselves. You can't find their food anywhere else. So the places that do things like that definitely will always stand out, rather than those locations that follow trends a little bit too much to the point where 12 other restaurants are doing the exact same thing in the region here. So it's all about originality, man. Once you're original and people start to embrace that, like, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, but couldn't you be a shawarma place or a pizza place that's still good, even though there's a million of them?
So those things are, like, I consider that fast food, like shawarma, pizzas, you know, poutineries. I'm thinking about on the go. And those places will always do well. Like, if you're in a good location, you're good. I'm thinking more like, you know, sit down restaurants where, you know, when I go to restaurants, and as potentially just me because I come from the industry, but I like to, you know, actually taste what the chef has to offer, right? I don't care what trend they're trying to follow or who they're trying to cater to. I just want to be able to taste, like, what the chef has to offer.
I suppose that's kind of like with any art, in the sense where as soon as you kind of get, I shouldn't generalize, but at the end of the day, yeah, like, it's kind of like any art where if you just start getting a bunch of money, your content and, like, what your art itself is going to change. You know, so once you are kind of like a big brand or a big fast food place and you're just a huge franchise, obviously it's going to change because, like, there's so many more stakeholders, so many more things that are involved, you know?
Definitely. And sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's okay. Just add to my thought.
No, and that's exactly why I compared it to like underground hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Because once you start getting, like, famous or you start getting signed, like, who can we use as an example? You know, like, J. Cole fan?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I still love J. Cole to this day. But, you know, you compare his mixtapes to his newer music, and there definitely is still a bit of a change, right? Because now, you know, because he had that restriction. Maybe J. Cole wasn't the best example, but, like, I hope you know what I mean by that. Once you start getting bigger and, like you said, there's more stakeholders or there's more, you know, this reputation you have to hold, you do change your sound or you do change your art a little bit. And that's why I like the underground concept, because you just stay true to yourself, and quite frankly, you do whatever the hell you want, whether you're a hip hop artist or an artist or a chef or whatever. So yeah, maybe not J. Cole, because J. Cole's still killing it, but
yeah, that was a shitty example. I think like what brings my okay, like, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, Nelk.
Yeah.
Those guys, I think, is a good example. Like, I still, like, they're kind of, like, funny. They're doing dope shit. But, like, I stopped keeping kind of track of them because eventually it was sort of
mainstream.
Corny.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I just miss these guys doing dumb shit. But, like, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It makes sense. If you get, like, $100 million deal,
100%,
you're just gonna do whatever the fuck the money talks. Like,
exactly.
You know, at the end of the day, that's why they're doing it. That's why anyone's really doing whatever they're doing is for the bag, right? So, I mean, it makes sense. And it's just crazy to think that, like, it's just fascinating to see. I shouldn't say see. I don't know if I can't really recall if I've been, like, a witness to someone who has really changed from money. You know what I mean? But even that change, whether it's, like, creatively or personally, is crazy, because it's like, damn, that really changes your creativity. And I think your creativity is you. So how do you just get changed like that? You know what I mean? How can you not express yourself just because of money? And I know it's kind of like funny for me to talk now because, you know, I'm a student, broke life. But I don't know. You kind of just assume that when you have money, you're just going to be the same, but I guess you never know, right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess once you really start to enjoy the fruits of your labor, it's almost like something that you want to kind of keep and continue growing. So sometimes I don't know if I would say, like, it's changing or just adjusting to you know, be able to kind of keep feeding yourself that. But, and you're right, like, money does talk, right? Like, at the end of the day, that's literally what we do all this for, right? It's why we build businesses and become chefs. At the end of the day, like, money is the main focus at the end of the day. I guess the better idea is to just how do we get that while not having to adjust, while still being able to, you know, stay true to ourselves.
I just think that, like, How do you stay true to yourself then?
I guess we'll find out. We'll have this conversation again in 10 years.
I hope so. No, we definitely will.
Yeah.
You haven't found any secret recipe to how to stay true to yourself?
I mean, like, I don't know. I guess just kind of not giving a shit at the same time is the only way to do it, right? Not caring about what people think. Like, when I started this company, like, I was just, I forget which one of you asked me if I went to school for, like, administration or anything like that. Like, I didn't do any of that shit. So a lot of people, they were like, what the hell is this guy doing? But at the end of the day, like you said, your creativeness is yourself. So as long as you embrace that and you push that and you don't give a shit, that's kind of how you stay true to yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah,
rather than
100%.
listening to what these people are saying or what they expect of you, you just do you, if that makes sense.
No, it totally makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally agree, because I've always been someone that kind of like breaks rules and like bend rules a little bit, and I've always believed that you have to, whether it's 100%. Like creatively, even like personally and professionally, like you kind of have to test waters and like test boundaries. Like I like to kind of like joke around and like mess around or whatever, so I'll always kind of like dig at somebody just to see how far they'll take it. So it's kind of like your creativity where you just kind of have to like dig at it, you know what
Definitely.
I mean?
Yeah, man, no, that's the way you gotta be. You gotta push boundaries and be out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, because I don't think, like, if you don't push boundaries, how are you really innovating?
Definitely.
Like, how can you innovate and evolve if you haven't pushed the restrictions that you're already in?
For sure. No, that's true, man. That's really it, right? You got to be, and like what we said at the beginning of this conversation, you got to be fearless. You got to embrace that you might fail, but you also got to work hard enough that you don't. And that's really just the way you got to approach it, I guess. Just don't be scared. At the end of the day, we're still alive, and that's all that matters. If you fail, you fail.
Honestly, that's crazy that you say that, because at the end of the day, like, I'll just be like in such a good mood sometimes, and I'll literally just say, like, life is so blessed. Like, all this stuff that I'm doing, that I'm trying to do, it's like, yeah, sure, it's like the money, it's whatever, trying to like do something. At the end of the day, I'm doing it because it's fun too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
At the end of the day, it's like, what would I really be doing if I was just like, alive?
Yeah. Well, that's it, man. You're just doing you. You like doing this podcast stuff, man. That's all that matters, right? As long as you follow what you want to do and let your, creative freedom run free.
Have you always thought that, or is that kind of like came from being a chef?
No, actually, I haven't. I was a chef for several years, and I followed that system for a long time until I got fed up with it. And then originally, I was planning on just leaving the industry because, like I'm a father at the same time, right? And it's a crazy, crazy industry to be a single parent in.
Why?
So, well, I mean, like, you work insane hours, 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. And not that I'm probably even working more than I was before now. It's a little bit different. Just that feeling of entrapment and kind of just doing the same thing over and over and over, and that repetitiveness is exactly what pushed me out of it. So originally I was like, screw this industry, I'm gonna look into something else. But quite frankly, this is all I knew. So I kind of just had to come up with the idea of somehow we got to be able to do whatever the hell we want and still get paid for it. So it was a work in progress for sure, but it was definitely it was either that or I'm just out of the industry.
Were you a father when you sort of made that transition?
Yeah.
So how does that, like, is that scary? Like, how do you find just saying, okay, fuck this comfort of like getting a paycheck and having a roof, to saying, fuck this, I can do whatever I want?
That's a great question, man, because that transition is freaking huge, right? To go from, even though I hated that job, it was consistent income, I was making paychecks, and to make that jump to be like, okay, I'm gonna go self-employed and just freaking shoot for the stars. That's kind of just a risk you had to take, man. And it wasn't a comfortable risk. And don't get me wrong, there was several struggles along the way, but just something you got to do, man. You got to be a risk taker. And like I've said several times, you just got to be fearless and don't let it be an option. Just make it happen.
What's crazy about kind of like the future and sort of making it happen was I was talking to my buddy Jesse, the guy who made this, and Tanner was there. We were talking about like the future, and I was like, dude, kind of like making things happen, I've kind of like moved away from the fear. Like, even I suppose I use the fear, but even having that fear of failing, it hasn't really been as much as a fear recently, because like what I picture in my head is, and it sounds delusional when I say it, but the picture and the dream that I have in my head is so like just blatant and so visual to me and so realistic to me that like it's real.
100%. Hell yeah.
And it's like, yo, that's gonna happen, because it's like, oh, it is happening. Like,
That's it.
I'm there already, kind of.
So, like, at that point, you've already accepted that it's going to happen. So you're not giving the option that it's not going to happen. I think that's exactly how you got to do it. You just got to be like, no, this is going to happen. Like, it's not an option. Like, it's going to happen, right? And that's the way you got to approach it. You got to be confident about it. And, I mean, once you have your mind strong on it like that, man, like, that's it. You put your mind to it, you're good.
And it's kind of funny that you get that, because I thought I sounded delusional.
Well, we are delusional, and that's what makes us so unique, is that we're kind of crazy in the head, you know?
Yeah, I think you have to be crazy.
We are. Like, I'm a freaking psychopath.
Why do you say
that?
But,
well, like...
Did you, like, punch a baby on the face?
No, I'm not that crazy. I just mean just, like, the way, like, I think, right? Like, I don't... You know, I've pushed myself into these weird-ass situations, but there's situations that needed to be happen that you have to be kind of crazy to do. Just like how you're saying, like how you sound delusional. Like you have to be crazy to be like that, man. Like, look at some of the most successful people in the world. Like, they're pretty crazy in the head. Or like some of the best artists in the world. Like, you know, people like to shit talk Kanye West so much. And like, yeah, like sometimes he's up and down, but he's a freaking creative mastermind.
It's actually, Kanye West is insane. I forget what the number was, but the amount of like Billboard 100s that he's been a part of, whether it's like producing or writing or rapping, whatever, is just unheard of. Apparently, I shouldn't just be yelling out numbers or anything, but fuck.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's ridiculous, and he has such good songs.
He does. I love Kanye, man.
Oh, I love Kanye.
He has his moments.
Favorite Kanye song?
Shit. I don't know if I could choose song, but I can tell you my favorite Kanye album, and that's definitely sorry?
Well, say it.
Well, my Dark Twisted Fantasy is my second favorite one.
What?
I like College Dropout, man. It's just raw, young Kanye.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Doing that. No, I like my Dark Twisted Fantasy because that's where he's like, I think just like at his peak of just like being crazy with his music, where he's just really experimenting. So I definitely like it in that sense. But I like College Dropout just because it was just raw. He was hungry. He was trying to come up, and he was just speaking just like truth and like facts and all that type of stuff. Yeah. So definitely the two of those though are my favorite. But I like his whole his whole history with music. He's talented, man, but he's a little crazy up there, and I think that's kind of honestly what makes him like that.
You're right. I don't think how you can be creative without being crazy, because the creativity, like, you have to think abnormally. Like, you can't think normally to be creative, because then it's not creative. It's the same shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then I guess like punch a baby in the face too every now and then. You know.
You gotta humble yourself. You gotta punch a baby in the face.
Yeah. But no, man, like that. It's honestly like if you look at like some of the most successful people, like they all are something's a little loose in their head, but in a good way, because that's kind of what makes them different, because they're not structured like everybody else, right? They were made differently,
built different.
Definitely.
I was gonna ask, did you watch The Throne?
Fuck, you want me to answer this question, eh? I've never seen it.
No, it's the album.
Oh, Watch the Throne. Sorry, I was thinking Game of Thrones. Shit.
I haven't
seen Watch the Throne. My bad. Yeah.
Game of Thrones,
for some reason, I thought Game of Thrones right away, and because every time somebody asks me that, and I say I've never seen it, they're always like, "What the hell?" Yeah, you know what? I did Watch the Throne. Wasn't my favorite album, but it was a fun album. It was an album that you blast in your car and stuff like that.
Do you have any other albums regardless of a genre, collaborative albums that are better or just as good as that?
Collaborative album?
Yeah. Because I think collaborative albums are insanely hard to get right.
Yeah, honestly, if we're talking collaborative album, I think right off the bat, Dr. Dre 2001. That's that's classic, right? I mean, I'm also Watch the Throne was good, man. It was good. Not the best album, but it had bangers, music that you just play at a party, or you're while you're driving your car or whatever.
I get fired up listening to
that. Yeah, 100%. Me too. Collaborative albums, I don't know.
What else do you listen to, man? What music do you listen to?
I mean, I'm a pretty hardcore hip hop head.
Just who specifically? Do you have people you don't fuck with?
I mean, no. I like old school and new school. I'm not a big fan of auto tune and shit like that. I'm a very big into lyricism, poetic. Same. So if I'm listening to hip hop, it's got to be J. Cole. I love J. Cole. I know I used him as a shitty example. Dude, he's my favorite. I didn't want to say him first because I'm a diehard Kendrick fan. But then people like Nas and those people. Those are my top three right now.
Albums. I mean, not albums, artists.
So right off the bat, for sure, Kendrick, J. Cole, Nas. I like Big L. Just because he was raw, man. You know Big L?
No.
Okay, fuck. He was so good. He died when he was 19. He was young. He was up and coming with Jay-Z. And he had a rough death, but he was really good, man.
Well, dude, the other argument for rappers, whether it's like Biggie or like whoever that kind of like died early, is like, yo, they don't really have much of a catalog. You're going off like 1 or 2 records, 100%. An album, like, you know. And I think I heard Chris Rock say it, but I kind of agree. Like, I didn't think about that, but it's right. Like, if you look at not statistically or in numbers, like I get it's art, but if you just consider how much art someone's made, it's kind of difficult. Like, how can you say that like Alexander the Great was such a great conqueror if he only conquered Macedonia? Or like,
yeah, you know? That's a great comparison actually. But yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think like, you know, we'd have a better judgment on that if they actually got to live their whole career, and you know, to this day, kind of like.
And I mean, like, yeah, you can't do anything about it, but I'm.
Just saying. Of course, but no, if I had to choose one though, excuse me, it'd definitely be Kendrick Lamar for sure. That's my boy.
Yeah, what's your favorite Kendrick song?
Man, you keep asking me songs. Songs are difficult. Albums, I can tell you.
Okay,
like,
album.
Good Kid, Mad City, 100%. Yeah? His first one, yeah. And if I actually, you know, if I did have to choose a song, like it'd probably be Money Trees with J-Rock. Just because
I like him and J-Rock together.
Yeah, well, yeah. Speaking of collaboration, those two when they go back and forth, 100%. That whole crew, man. That whole Black Hippie crew. I think they're all underrated. Like, actually, honestly, I think Ab-Soul could have been the best one out of all of them, but he didn't do it.
No,
you know, he was a crazy lyricist. I like his kind of like high pitched, like rugged voice. He didn't do it though, man.
Damn,
he's
man.
quiet.
Damn.
But yeah, I agree with you, man. Kendrick and J-Rock, they're the ultimate duo.
They are. I think I just kind of like how they're both very different, but they mesh very well together. Like their voices and sort of like the way they rap is really different, but they make it work. And I think I love that.
Definitely. Another one that I've been really enjoying lately is Anderson .Paak. He's a bit of a different vibe though, but I like that about him, man.
I'm picky with him, but I like him.
Yeah, there's a couple songs I don't like either, but I like that he's very versatile, man. Like he does his hip hop, he does his singing, he does his vibe songs, and he plays a lot of the instruments too, which I'm a big fan of.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he does the drums, the guitar, he does all that stuff.
The song that I love by him right now is called Jet Black, I think.
Yeah, I know Jet Black.
I like that song.
Yeah,
good song.
But yeah, man.
Do you listen to any musicians from here, from Waterloo?
Like I know a few, but to say that like I'm super into them, no, and not that like I purposely try to avoid them.
Right,
but,
you haven't just done the research.
Yeah. What about you? I think you've interviewed a couple of them here when I was looking through the catalog there.
There's our guy Shaq, Giovanni. There's Mickey May. There was the manager of Music's Most Wanted last week, which was kind of cool. Yeah, man. Musicians I find are cool because they're just cool creatives that have a different perspective. And that's kind of what I like about sort of like talking to different people is like, dude, there are so many different perspectives just in terms of creativity and like achieving your dreams. Like,
definitely.
A chief of police achieved this shit a lot different than you did or you are going to. You know what I mean? So I think it's really cool to sort of like get that different insight that everybody offers.
Yeah, there's so many creative minds, right?
Yeah,
that's what keeps the world going.
Yeah, and I think Waterloo's kind of slept on for creativity too.
Definitely.
Or maybe that's just me because I'm here. You know what I mean? Maybe like other people give it credit in different cities, but I don't know.
No, it is definitely slept on. Like Kitchener-Waterloo, I think has been slept on in several different ways. But
how so?
I mean, like I'm gonna keep bringing it back to like the restaurant culture because that's what I'm in. But like the restaurant culture in Kitchener-Waterloo has definitely been slept on, right? Like I'm not sure how much like you keep up with things like that, but obviously like, you know, places in Toronto of course, but places also like Hamilton and like Niagara, you know, they're known to have like a great restaurant reputation. I think the scene that we have here is, I mean, it's getting better. Honestly, like the scene here I think is getting better in several different ways. I think the fact that we're growing and there's people coming from bigger cities to come move here, it just like speaks in volume that we are growing and we are becoming a better region here, and there's so much stuff going on here. So we are definitely slept on, but I think we're getting there, man.
But how do we get there?
Just letting these creative people run free across the city, you know? Letting these people open up these great establishments, like regardless if they're restaurants or music studios or like shopping centers, like anything. Just kind of breaking out of that corporate like entrapment that we are here, and, you know, opening up more and more places. And like even more than just like brick and mortar establishments, but just more and more things, events, people, concepts, just let that creative freedom just run free here in the city, right? We've had a few big names come out of the city, like Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
I wish I...
Soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
You trying to get him on here? Let me know when you do. I'll sit in the crowd.
Yeah,
ask a couple questions.
That'd be kind of dope. I don't know. I mean, I could be selfish, say no audience. I'm just kidding.
Fair enough.
I think it'd be dope, but I think it'd be up to him too, though. Like,
yeah.
Do you want an audience?
I mean, I wouldn't mind it. I think it'd be kind of cool.
I think it'd be kind of cool.
I like the personal connection, having people to talk to in the crowd. I keep looking at the wall here, so it'd be cool to see like 5 people or something there.
You like having eyes on you?
It depends. It depends. I don't like too much attention, right? If it's surrounding like my business, absolutely, all eyes on me. If it's surrounding anything else, nah, I like to be off the map, man.
Really?
But if it's something that'll benefit like my brand, my business, or my wallet, I'll definitely be I'll talk to anybody. I'll do whatever. Be on camera if I need to, but only if it's for something that'll benefit me, right?
Interesting.
And maybe that's kind of selfish for me to say, but
I don't think so. Why waste time out of your day to do something?
Well, yeah, man. Like, yeah, I guess so. As long as it benefits one way or another, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of looking at situations like, how can you just make it a win-win?
Definitely.
You know what I mean? How can this benefit everybody? Like, I could ask you to come do a podcast, but it's like, don't mention your restaurant. What the fuck?
Yeah,
why am I coming? Fuck
enough.
you. Like, you know?
Yeah.
That's what I'd say.
What are some of the, do you listen to a lot of podcasts yourself as well?
Not really.
No? All good.
This thing is just fun to me. I mean, like, I have before. Like, there are definitely certain shows that I'll put on like once in a while to listen to as like background noise. If I'm like biking sometimes, it depends on my mood, but like generally I just enjoy going right to my music.
Yeah, me too.
Like, as much as I want to like toss on a podcast and like get enlightened and like,
yeah, you just rather just throw on a banger and just
bro, put on Kanye and like, you know what I mean, or like put on something.
No, I'm the same way. I try to listen to podcasts, and I do on like the occasion, but
I don't force myself. Why would I force? I mean, like, I don't mean to. I'm not saying that you force yourself, but like, I just don't like forcing myself to listen to a podcast or do almost anything, just because then it's just gonna be shit. Like, why would I force myself?
Yeah, it's got to be something that you're really into, right? Like, on the rare occasion, I will listen to business podcasts. Like, I'll try to find episodes for something that, like, I would like to have some like enlightenment on, or something I'm not fully aware of, something that I can learn from. I don't want to just listen to people talk just for the sake of it, for whatever reason. But there's a lot of podcast heads out there, though, for sure.
Thinking about being forced to do something, I was thinking about something the other day, and I was like, dude, if they tell us not to force our kids, I don't have kids, but like force our kids into sports, because then they'll just end up hating it because they're forced to do something. Why are they forced into school?
Fair.
I think creatively, I think like, I mean, sure, I understand like the daycare part where like maybe, I don't know, maybe like parents are busy when they're that age, like they're working, whatever, and at the end of the day, maybe it's like the job of a government to sort of make sure that they're like in good hands. But I think the idea of school, it's like, why is it so forced? Or like maybe like, why are the subjects forced? I understand like,
the subjects I agree on more. Like, I think like, forcing them into some sort of education is definitely important.
But
right?
I think it's the education itself is that question.
Yeah, and that's where I agree with you for sure. Like as a business owner, and I'm sure there may have been some courses I could have taken in high school when I wasn't screwing around, but I wish we were enforced to learn more about like taxes and like all that type of shit, right? Like there's a lot of stuff in school that I don't use to my knowledge like at all these days. So I think like having education forced or just implemented into life like definitely is important, but what education is being forced I think is what definitely needs to be changed, right? I think they should definitely be implementing more, day-to-day life intelligence that you need to just learn from.
It's kind of funny that you bring that up, that you said the word taxes, because like we started this thing called Anatolia like last September, and it's just kind of like this organization where we focus on educating youth and teens, specifically those in high school who may not have like the best emotional or financial like background, and we're just trying to educate them on things like financial literacy, mental health, sustainability. We have this one computer programming course that teaches you essentially like how to control different objects in your house, you know what I mean, make them communicate to each other, things like that. And like that kind of originated from the same belief that we need to start teaching like people who are about to be qualified as adults, things that adults need to know.
Definitely.
Whether it's taxes or whether it's making sure your wallet's good, you know what I mean? Making sure your brain and your body are good. Because it's like all these fat people, you know, are out here just to strain on our economy, you know. Who else is a strain on our economy? If you're not busy after school, or if you're not like learning real things that you enjoy or sort of like you can put to use, you're just gonna get involved in like stereotypically in like crime or like gangs, right? And again, just, you know, straining the rest of the community, and it's like harder to build the idea of a community. You know what I mean? Because it kind of just, if you could have a neighborhood where you don't have to like lock your doors, or like, you know, you could just leave your door open, whatever. I think that's really cool, but it's tough to have that when there's sort of this cycle of whether it's like health or this cycle of finance or crime that just sort of persists unless you break it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, I ramble a lot when I talk about like Anatolia, but basically, yeah, man, like just teaching shit that we need to learn. You know what I mean? Especially like coming from a middle class family, if these are the things that I didn't learn, and I eventually learned, but even still to this day sort of have trouble with them, how are those who aren't middle class, how are those who really like have other issues going on, like real problems going on, dealing with these 3 things or 4 or 5 things that we're trying to teach? You know what I mean? And Definitely. So I think it comes back to your point on like, we really got to teach people who are about to qualify as adults shit that adults need to know, like, you know, taxes are huge.
No, 100%. Like, they need to be able to you know, like change up like the education that can embrace all these different types of minds, right? Because it's just one set structure that's teaching all these thousands and millions of students. Like when I was in high school, and not that I was the best student in high school, but when I was in high school, the one thing that stood out to me the most was that one teacher who, rather than just staying true to what the system is from the school board, she kind of tried to work with every student specifically and tried to embrace like what they are comfortable with learning, what they want to learn. Like, for example, rather than you know, making us all read the same book, she would like question every student and kind of see like what they're interested in and like what like inspires them or what they're want to get into like career wise. And then she would get like specific books for each student. There's one teacher in my high school that did that, and that was a class where I probably did the best in, because it was something that like I want to learn about, rather than just that set structure that's being taught for all these freaking students. So definitely agree with you on that point there. Like, I think that definitely needs to be fixed, but I guess until then it's you know, the responsibility of the parents too, to try to help their kids to
of course,
you know, learn these day-to-day things, like how to change a tire and, you know, little things like that.
I mean, I think if you can't change a tire, then like, I don't know, you know what's kind of funny, man? Like, there's a lot of like basic shit that I know that it just fascinates me when other people don't know. And I don't mean to sound like a dick, but it's like in my head, I'm kind of thinking like, yo, I don't necessarily know everything. Like, there are people who are way smarter than me. Like, so many people who just have done more shit, accomplished more shit. So how is it that the basic knowledge that I know to you is like, whoa, a lot of knowledge? Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I definitely hold myself to a high standard and have that cocky belief, but at the same time, I certainly humble myself where I definitely let myself know where it's like, yo, you know, you ain't shit. There's a lot of names that you can name that have more money, that have achieved more, or whatever you want to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, no matter what, man, you always gotta somehow, like, you'll always be able to learn more, right? Like, you can't know everything, right? So you gotta be ready to embrace what the world has to offer and let the world inspire you in that way too. Because I guess you can't go about it thinking that you know everything, right? Not that obviously you do, or anybody in specifically, but I think that's just definitely the way you got to approach it. And regardless if it's for business or for your personal or for anything whatsoever, if you let the world continue to teach you and inspire you, then I think you'll be unstoppable at that point. Always just be ready to learn, right? No matter how smart you are.
And I think that's like where the power of learning really comes in, because it's like, learning isn't just associated with the classroom. Like, dude, you learn every day. It's just depending on how you're sort of taking in the information around you. 100%. Like, I'm a very visual person. Whenever I'm walking, like, I'm looking at everybody and everything. Like, I'm trying to take in detail. 100%. So like,
I'm the same way.
So it kind of depends on how, you know, you see life. Like, if you're just listening to stuff and if that's how you're taking knowledge, then I think that's different. But
you got to be a sponge, right? You got to be able to soak it all in.
And I think that's what kind of is crazy about me is just like I have this sort of like childlike curiosity and like this immaturity in the sense where it's like not immaturity I should say, but more so in the sense where it's like, yeah, I guess a sponge where I'm just like, what's that? Why? You know what I mean? Like I just ask. And what's crazy now that I say that, it's like there's these basic questions of like why, what, how that I think are really overlooked. You know what I mean? Like if you just ask the basic questions, having that sponge in your brain is actually really easy.
Well, that's it, right? Like you like ask questions. That's literally it. If you don't know something, ask the questions, and that's literally how you learn it, right? And like that's something that I did throughout my entire career. Like when I was a chef or a cook or whatever, I always just kind of just watched, and when I didn't know something, you say, you know, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, never be afraid to ask these questions because that's how you learn.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for me, I've never really been the smartest kid in school because I realized that school isn't shit. Even like at an early age, I never really cared because like I knew I was good at other stuff. Like I had other responsibilities, you know? So I never really got good grades. But I think kind of like being that kid, that one of those kids that didn't get those good grades sort of helped me to ask more questions because eventually I was like, yeah, man, like I'm that kid. I don't give a fuck. Like it's my question. I need to know too. You know what I mean? Why should I be embarrassed about knowing? Fuck you. Like just because you're too much of a pussy to ask the question, you're going to give me shit? Fuck this guy, you know? That's how I started thinking.
No, I like that. It's straightforward. That's the way you got to be, man. You know, you gotta focus on yourself, and you gotta just think about how you can continue to learn without giving a shit what people have to say. Ask the questions. Who cares if you're knowing, you're learning, right? You're teaching yourself when you do that, those type of things. So,
but what's crazy is like that's so easy to say. Obviously, just like anything else in the world, because obviously, like even in my last university classes, like there were certainly times where I was like, nah, I don't really want to ask, like, you know, for whatever reason, I was like, nah, I just bitched out. But obviously, there were a lot of times where I think it's more so in like conversation settings or like if someone says a big word, I don't mind being that guy to say, what did you just say? And like everyone else will act like it. But the reason why I actually, now that I think about it, I think the reason why I ask questions is because it's like, let's say you say a big word, right? I'm like going along with it and you're like, what does it mean? Fuck, now I'm gonna get called out. No, I don't know. I'd rather just ask and find 100%. Out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was the same way, man. Like you said, like when you were in university, like when I was in college, man, like in class, like I would be too scared out of like, you know, the hundreds of students to put my hand up and be like, what does this mean, right? Because at that point, it's like the fear of looking like an idiot. Yeah. But I think once you get past that fear, man, like that's when you really, really start to, you know, get more knowledgeable and you get smarter because fear is the worst freaking thing in the world, man. Like, of course, like there's...
I disagree.
Well, no, actually, no, you're right. You're right. It's not the worst thing in the world. You should be, like, scared of certain things. And sometimes fear pushes you to be greater. But at the same time, too much fear is definitely a curse at the same time. It's got to be that right balance. And that also brings us back to, like, at the beginning of our conversation as well, too, where we were saying you have to be, like, yeah, scared of failing, but you also have to be fearless to the point where... like you don't fail. So you just gotta have that right balance because too much fear will definitely hold you back and little fear will,
I totally agree, but at the same time I see it as like regardless of how much fear you have, it's sort of about controlling it. Like it's like you might have 90 units of fear, right? And that's cool, where it's like someone else might have like 100,000 units of fear, but you guys are on the same level of like, you know, being content and like peace. And I feel like it kind of depends on how you control that fear because like I don't know, man. I think you can have a lot of fear and be just absolutely fucking terrified of life and where you're going to end up. But I think as long as you can kind of like keep yourself calm and still do the things day to day that you have set out to achieve those plans, I think it's just about using it and controlling it.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah, it's the proper balance of it, right? Don't let it stop you, but at the same time, like it'll help you not make some silly mistakes at the same time. So it is really just about the right balance of fear, I guess. You know? So like
I think controlling your mind actually I think is like a really more than a difficult thing to do. And I think like kind of coming off the fear and sort of like controlling that, I think like I don't think people really like understand like themselves a lot. And I think like going through like a lot of ups and downs, whether it's like with a restaurant or just in life, it's like I think that tells you a lot about yourself. And I think it just depends on when you hear that. Because it's like you can do some shit today and act on it accordingly, and that tells you a lot about yourself in that moment, but only if you see it. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people can see themselves really like fucking up or doing something in that moment, where like they wait 10 years, they wait 20 minutes, and then they realize that they fucked up. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, you know, like you said, like, you know, being able to control your mind, like, it's a difficult thing to do.
And I think that... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, man.
Honestly, I have a bad habit. I don't necessarily try to interrupt you, because
I
just get really excited.
I do the same way, man.
I get really excited. But, like, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I kind of forget now.
That's okay.
But, no, like, it's definitely a hard thing to do, is control your mind. And I think that's kind of, you know, I'm going to get even deeper with that. I think that's kind of like how society has set us to be. To, you know, we always feel like we have to hold ourselves to a certain standard, that a lot of times that we, you know, we can't control our mind, because again, we're going to bring it back to fear, because you're scared of this, you're scared of that. But I think once you have your mind control and you have your fear under control, like, you're unstoppable. But it's a lot easier said than done.
Of course.
It takes a lot of time. I think you have to be angry at the world. I think you have to be inspired like a motherfucker, and you have to just be ready to just break out of your comfort zone, which is all really freaking hard things to do, right?
Definitely. It takes time.
Once you come to the point where you just, you know, you don't give a shit anymore, and you're just ready to just go balls out, that's the way you gotta do it. And like, for me, myself, like, it took me freaking years to get to that point, right? And I got to that point because I think I was just so fed up. And like I said, I was mad at the world, and at that point, it's not an option anymore. Like, it's gonna get done, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's all based on personal experience, I think, right? Like, I think you have to go through these certain experiences. You have to come from something that just pushes you to be like that. Whether it's like some crazy inspiration, or something bad that's happened in your life, or something that just sets your mind off to just go right deep into it.
I think first of all, I kind of, like, I think I have a pretty bad attention span, so I multitask a lot. So when you're talking, I'm still listening to you. But I was talking about something else. I was thinking about something else. So the first thing is like, no, I totally agree. Like, you definitely need some type of like trauma, whether it's good or bad, to sort of ignite a flame in you. I think that's sort of like the gas that ignites your flame. You know what I mean? But the other thing that I was thinking about from before was, I think one of the biggest things to controlling your fear is also kind of realizing that there is no fear, that everything is perfect. Because I think a lot of things come back from your ego. And I think what I mean by really understanding your mind and sort of like understanding you is understanding, like, the way I see this is like, yo, me, Ozgur, this like bag of flesh and bones, it's just a social construct. Like, it's just something that's made up. If you kind of try to like dig deep, like, what's actually crazy is if you look forward, just look straight, and sort of try to go backwards through your vision. Do you kind of get what I mean? Imagine your vision as a tunnel, right? And try to go backwards and find out what lies behind Arnold. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Almost like you're unconscious, or you're conscious, sort of like understanding that this name that my parents gave me, this shit that we're doing here, is sort of like based off of my ego of Ozgur. Whereas if you kind of go backwards and go above that, there's like a whole nother,
some spiritual shit.
And I think that's kind of what it comes down to, is understanding your ego versus like, yo, yourself. And I think that kind of comes with like fear and sort of controlling your mind.
Definitely a lot of personal awareness, man. Like, you have to discover yourself first, right?
Definitely.
I think that's definitely the most important thing, because if you don't even know who you are, how the hell are you going to do anything in this, like, make any changes in this world? You have 100%. To have full control of yourself and know what you want, know where you came from, know what changed you, know what made you, and you know, and pretty much set what you're about to do. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's deep, man. I like that. I know exactly what you're talking about too. And a lot of it is spiritual shit. Like, I kind of said, like, as a joke there, but in reality, like, it is very spiritual.
Yeah.
And you got to get deep inside yourself like that and think about, you know, all that shit.
You know what's crazy? If you ever just go up to a mirror and just stare into your eyes for like 3 minutes, 4 minutes, like for a while, not just kind of like look into yourself. If you're really just consistently staring and you're trying not to blink, you can blink, whatever. But if you kind of like force it a little once in a while and you're just staring at yourself, it's a very spiritual experience.
You start thinking about, like, what the fuck, who am I? Like, you know, you start thinking about what the fuck am I doing?
It's insane.
What's going on? Like, who am I, like, as a natural person, as like a soul or spirit or whatever? Like, what?
Yeah.
And then, shit, man, you can get into a whole like dark tunnel, like, thinking into that shit, you know? Because then you start thinking about life and this and all this like crazy shit. Like, I don't know, but I think, and I'm gonna get a little bit darker, but like I think about death a lot too, right?
So do I.
So I think about people who have died, or when I'm gonna die, or how people have died too. And that's also actually one of the biggest inspirations I have too. Is about I could fucking die 3 weeks from now. So until then, I'm just gonna fucking go all out. You know, I'm not gonna hold back. I'm not gonna, you know. And that's kind of what helps you defeat a little bit of that fear too. Is 100%. That at the end of the day, if I die tomorrow, I'm gonna wish. Well, obviously I won't be able to wish, but you know, I'd wish that I did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So death and the fear of death is definitely a big motivator.
Yeah, 100%. But I'm curious about death. Like not in a suicidal way, but it's like, dude, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, it's a fucking very, very deep, dark tunnel that you can think about.
Because especially when you start talking about like, yo, what really lies behind me, and you start thinking like, have you done psychedelics before?
Yeah, I have.
Anyway, you start kind of thinking about like, yo, what lies behind this life? It's insane. It's just this craziness that just goes on. Like,
definitely.
Like you said, just this tunnel. You're just trapped in for the ride.
Well, then like you think about, and I don't know if you've had any like close friends or families, but I think about obviously like close friends or family that, of course, unfortunately, like did pass away, and I think about them all the fucking time. Like, you know, where are they? What are they? Like, if like, what did they feel? Like, the fact that you know that they experienced that is just like a mind trip on its own.
Right,
so I think about all that shit like on a daily. And quite frankly, I think actually that is definitely one of my biggest motivators is the fact that I'm terrified of death. I'll say that straight up, like I am. But it makes it feel like I just gotta get shit done. If I can leave some sort of impact, I definitely will, or at least leave some type of inspiration or just anything, just to know that I attempted something before I die.
If you died today, would you be happy?
Well, I mean, of course I wouldn't be happy.
No, but I mean, like, would you be content with what you've done?
I mean, I'd be happy that I did what I wanted to do. I'd be happy that I beat my fear a little bit. I stepped out of my comfort zone. I helped out a lot of other people. I brought a lot of people together.
So there's more positives in your lives than negatives is what I'm saying.
Definitely. Like, obviously it would suck because there's a lot more shit that I want to do. And obviously, like, I want to see my son grow. So, like, all that shit will definitely, like, obviously I don't want that to happen.
Of course.
But I'd be pretty content with at least what I've been able to do.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking too, because it's like, obviously I don't want to die. And obviously there's a bunch of shit that I want to do, but it's like, honestly, man, like, yo, life is good, man. At the end of the day, if it happens, it happens, you know? For sure. I was thinking about that today, and I was like, dude, if y'all mourn over me at my funeral, I'll actually be upset. Like, yo, life is a party.
He's gonna curse you guys. Just watch out.
Yeah, like that. What are you crying over? And I kind of want to say it here because it's like now it's like solidified in stone. If I ever go out, you guys know, like, yo, it better be a celebration.
You're gonna play this at your funeral.
Dude, play it, man. It's not gonna be a funeral. It'll be a birthday death party. Like
birthday death party.
I should have said death party or death day party. I don't know. Apparently, in like some cultures, they actually celebrate it more than a wedding.
And like I do like that too, right? Because at the end of the day, like you're celebrating life. Like obviously, like it's a very shitty situation, regardless of how it is. But you still want to celebrate that life. You know, we want to celebrate the experiences and the memories that we're left with, right? And I would rather, honestly, I actually would rather people like, you know, have a freaking as much of a good time as they can rather than sitting around just mourning all day.
Yeah. Because I see it as kind of selfish. You're getting upset because you're gonna miss me. Well, I'm having a blast of my motherfucking life in heaven. Why are you not happy for me?
Yeah, I mean, like I think that's also obviously a lot easier said than done too, right? Like it'd be hard for the people who loved you to just be like, hey, let's fucking have a party.
Definitely, but if it's like if you know me and if you know me and you know me enough to cry at my funeral, then you should know me enough to know that I'm serious. And it's like, dog, don't cry, like relax. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's just the way I see it. I don't know. I was thinking about that today.
I think about that shit all the time, man. Yeah, death is one of the biggest things that goes on my mind. Like not even just like me dying, but just like death itself. Like it's
the idea of it.
Yeah.
See, I think so. That kind of comes back to what I was saying of like, yo, not just Arnold, but what lies behind it. So it's like kind of the death. It's like who's dying. Because like there's all this kind of like science that you're an energy, right? Like you are energy. You're this ball of energy. Energy can't be destroyed nor created. It just is, right? So you're just kind of this energy, and whatever the fuck this energy is from, it's just I don't know. It's kind of crazy because I feel like I go off energies a lot. I don't know. It's like, yo, I kind of can feel the energy in the room, and I can sort of bounce off it.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, like energy is huge. Like for example, like right when I ran into you guys, right? Like I felt the energy right off the bat. that's definitely like a big thing for sure. And yeah, like I'm definitely the exact same way. You know, like you feel these things, right? Like the body is so freaking sensitive, and sometimes we don't realize how sensitive it is. Definitely. But it controls. Well, obviously, it controls everything, but in a more and more deeper spiritual way than a lot of us think as well too. Especially the mind. Like the mind is freaking crazy. It can destroy you. The mind, like how powerful it is. It's also
100%. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. Yeah, it'll fuck your day up.
Control of it, like, and it's sad because some people do, and not just because like obviously they didn't give a shit, but it's just it's fucking. That's another thing too, man. Like death and like the whole like human anatomy is absolutely insane. Like we could start a whole podcast on that and have like 100 episodes probably on that, right? It's just you can get so deep into that shit, and it's crazy. And just the thought alone probably messes with a lot of people too. It's messed with me a couple times in the past, especially when I've had friends that passed away. It messes with you for a while because you think like really freaking deeply. We become so accustomed to this society of, you know, waking out of bed and going to work and doing whatever the hell we do that we forget actually like life itself, and what it really freaking is.
And I think that's kind of funny that you say that we forget that life itself. Like right now you're perceiving vision. You know what I mean? Like you're visually stimulated. And I think that's really crazy if you think about like the idea that I'm seeing and I see what this is and I take it in and I understand it. You know what I mean? Like just understanding that in itself, not what you're looking at, but the fact that you're looking and you're seeing and there's other shit, there's other humans. It's that and that. Bro, life is, I don't even know. It's such a mindfuck.
Yeah, like I remember, I don't know if anybody else ever thought this, but when I was a kid, I used to like think that like, I used to like look at other people. I was like, are these people even real? Like, are these real life freaking people that like there's another like soul in there just talking to me or looking at me? Like it's that just connection alone. It's a trip. Like it's all a freaking trip at the end of the day. You know, and at the end of the day, we'll never fully understand what life actually is. And maybe after death we will, who knows? But yeah, it's crazy. And we've become so accustomed to what society has made us accustomed to with this day-to-day lifestyle that we forget what life really is. Yeah. Crazy shit.
I ask girls now, I'm like, yo, what do you think the meaning of life is? Because
is that your pickup line?
It's not even a pickup line. It's actually a test. Yeah. I'm like, yo, which one of you can actually have a real conversation? Because I was talking about this with Aaron today. I was like, dude, I feel like people who can't, if I say something and someone can't give me their opinion, I think that dictates a lot. Like if I ask you something, I'm like, what's the meaning of life? And you're like, I don't know. Like someone was like, are you high right now? And I was like, no, you don't have to be high to ask this question. Like, what are you talking about? So like things like that is kind of a test to me where it's like, can you actually hold down a conversation?
Yeah. And a lot of people avoid that conversation, to be completely honest. And I think it's because, like obviously, like we don't know, and some people, like you know, bringing it back to fear, like either like the fear of like talking about death or finding about what after. Like obviously, like, that's a scary thing to think about. So I think a lot of people just avoid that conversation in general.
What do you think the point of life is?
Fuck, that's a great question. You know, I think when I think about the point of life, I try to think like way back, thousands of years ago, before we even had, you know, like the businesses or this infrastructure of this,
like,
you know,
monkeys and shit?
Fucking monkeys, caveman. Like we try to think about then, right? Like to give you an exact answer, what I think the meaning of life is or the point of life is, I have no fucking idea. Like no clue. Like, you know, at one point we were no different than every other animal on this planet, where we were just out here just to survive and eat food. But now, like humans being as intelligent as we are, we've somehow built this meaning of life that, quite frankly, may not actually be the meaning of life, but it's what we've built. And I guess it's really up to us to define what the meaning of life is at this point, right? So what my meaning of life is of course, you know, my family and, you know, trying to build a business and shit like that. But the meaning of life could be different for everybody else. It could be different from you or for anybody else in this room. Because, I mean, that's all we have at this moment. Unless we want to think like deeper to back when we were monkeys and cavemen, where we just wanted to fucking eat, and I don't fucking know what the hell they're doing back then, but pretty much, right? But yeah, like we were no different than every other animal too, right? And I think that's also why we got to respect other animals, because quite frankly, we're no different to them. We're just a lot smarter, and that's really it. Yeah. And our mind, like the human mind, is what made us more powerful than them too. Right. Is that fact that, you know, we got to build weapons and shit like that, but quite frankly, like physical wise, we're one of the weakest animals out there. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, who the fuck knows? it's a deep thing to think about, man. I think about it. Like, what do you think? Do you have a meaning of life?
I think the meaning of life is, I think there, like you said, everyone has a different thing of life. But if I was to kind of generalize and like say the meaning of life for everyone, I think ought to be, not is, but ought to be understanding that you are living. You know what I mean? I feel like once you kind of understand that you're living and like you're around whatever you're around, life is good. Like, I know you can see that, like, obviously, like, some lives are just kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Makes sense, but I truly do think that you can see the beauty in everything. So if you kind of just understand that you're alive, not necessarily like I'm alive, thanks God, but more so like I'm living. Like I was trying to say earlier, like you're perceiving something. Yeah. Like I don't know how the fuck to describe that. I'm living. It's hard. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, though.
And I think if a lot of people realize that, like kind of the idea of like an ego and a self, and sort of like trying to see what lies behind everything, I think like the world might be a better place.
100%. And I think the ego is a powerful thing. And some people lose control of it, right? Like, you know, all this shit that goes on in this world, like all the violence and the war, and like we can go on for fucking days of shit that goes on. Like, we've lost control of this incredible mind that humans were blessed with. And I think that that's a curse that we put on ourselves. But I think if we all just, exactly what you said, just embrace the fact that we're living, we would all respect so much, everyone else so much more, because we're all going through the same shit. And we should definitely be, figuring it out together instead of against each other.
Does owning a restaurant or a business kind of inflate your ego a lot?
Nah, fuck no, man. I'm humble as shit, man. I know that what I have is a blessing. Now, of course.
But do you not get like cocky or confident at all? Like, you're not like, yeah.
Confident? Absolutely. Oh, like, of course, man. Like, am I proud of what I have? Absolutely. Am I fucking top-notch shit? Fuck no. Like, I'm not. At the end of the day, like, what I have doesn't make me who I am, right? Of course, like, yeah, like, fuck yeah, I'm super proud of what the hell we made, and I think we have a super dope-ass concept, and we're doing some amazing shit. Of course, I'm super confident about that. But to make me feel like I'm over anybody else for that, hell fucking no, because 2 years ago I didn't have that shit. I'm very proud of what we have because I fucking did blood, sweat, and tears literally every single freaking day for the last 2 years to have what I have. But that shit can get taken away in a heartbeat too, so you just got to stay humble about it. Like, look what this pandemic did. It shut down so many restaurants. We're lucky that ours wasn't one of them. But yeah, I learned, like, I grew up to be humble, man. Like, I didn't come from like a rich family or anything like that. Like, we came from Nicaragua, which is literally the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. So we definitely got to be humble. Am I confident? Absolutely. Am I proud? And like, do I know that we're doing dope shit? Hell yeah. But you know, we're not kings, we're not heroes, we're not doctors, we're not anything like that. So definitely got to stay humble.
100%. I totally think, and it's weird, like the idea of a balance is fascinating because it comes back to that where, like, for me, 100%, man, you got to be humble. Like, wait, so when you lived in Kitchener when you were little, like, just to, I guess for some context, like, what neighborhoods and stuff, like, where did you live in?
Well, when we moved to Kitchener, we were in like the West End by like Victoria Street. Kind of
where?
Like Victoria and Highland almost.
Yeah. Where, the co-ops or the apartments?
Well, we lived in Chandler for a little bit, up in I forget, Ottawa and Westmount there. But then we moved a little bit closer to like Iron Needles before it was Iron Needles.
Right.
So at that point, like, yeah, we lived in like a good little house. You know, my parents worked freaking their asses off, right? They were both custodians, and they were just smart with their money. Yeah. They saved well. They gave us a good childhood. You know, we didn't grow up like completely poor, but we weren't spoiled little
100%.
Rich brats either. Like, we were definitely very blessed and lucky, you know, with the parents that we have, just because they were smart and they were humble as well, and they just worked hard. And you know, that's the way we got to be.
100%. But and yeah, like, that's sick that you know that, because like certainly do you know where Brybeck is?
Yeah, that's not too far.
Yeah, it's not far at all. Like, at one point, like, when I was little, we lived there, and then eventually we moved to like not Westmount, like Westcourt or something like that. But anyway, off of Glasgow, and like, if you know what I'm talking about, where Glasgow and Fisher Holman is. When you go down there, there's
like by Gage and I think I know.
Fuck it. Anyway. Point is like, you 100% have to be humble, because like everything that you just said, you don't know when that's gonna like be taken away. But at the same time, I think like a lot of athletes, like a lot of musicians, they truly believe that they're the best. And I definitely think I'm the best, but not in terms of like I know everything and I'm better than you. I full-heartedly know from experience that other people's perspective are just as, maybe more valuable than mine. So I feel like you actually have, I think knowledge and belief are two different things, because I truly believe that I'm the best at whatever I do and like whatever I try to do. But that doesn't mean I actually am the best. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to definitely approach it that way too, right? Because if you go into a situation and be like, yeah, I'm half-assed at this, you're going to be half-assed at it. But you definitely got to go into it. Like, when I go into work, I'd be like, we're going to fucking be the best ones out here. Exactly. Like, you definitely got to go into it with that mentality.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, that's definitely, like, what you got to do to be out there, working and hustling and grinding. You got to have that mentality for sure. Yeah. But I think it's to the point where, like, if you hold yourself at a higher standard or treat yourself like you're a god, like, that's eventually it's going to downfall on you for sure.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that I'm a god or anything.
No, I know.
I could certainly humble myself and say, like, yo, like, remember, the late nights that your Dukes were working, they came, you know what I mean? Like, definitely. But at the same time, I truly think that, like, if you want to accomplish what you want to, or at least I don't know, if you just want to do some shit, I shouldn't say you. If, like, I want to do some shit, what's been working for me is just saying to myself, like, yo, you are the best. Like, you're an animal, do you.
Yeah, well, you got to, like you were saying, like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you got to fucking,
I do that all the time.
You got to amp yourself up, too, sometimes.
I'll have, like, in-depth conversations. And, again, it sounds, like, crazy delusional, but it's, like, you sit here looking in your eyes and you're just having a conversation with yourself.
Yeah, you got to look in the mirror and be like, you're the motherfucking man. You're a fucking animal. Yeah, 100%. You got to motivate yourself at the same time, too, right?
That's certainly one of my rules, man. That's certainly one of my rules to life, bro. What are some of your executive rules?
Well, I mean, like, I guess, like, depends on,
I don't know, one or two, 3, whatever. Like a couple that.
When I bring anybody on, when I hire people, the first thing I tell them is that you got to be fearless with this type of concept, right? Yeah. I don't want to bring in a scared chef into our kitchen who's scared to just, be themselves. So 100% you got to be fearless, and that's definitely our biggest rule in our concept, because that's what our entire concept is about. You got to be ready to be creative, like, be fearless in the kitchen, like, kind of like just don't give a shit about what people are about to think about you, right? We've built this brand to embrace every type of culture, to embrace every type of person, whether you are freaking Spanish or Muslim or gay or whatever the hell you are. Like, that's like, that all goes away once you're in this kitchen. Just fucking be you and defeat all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, art doesn't have labels.
100%. So, fearless is definitely, if I have to say, like, my number one executive rule for anybody who comes and works with us, whether like it's our full-time employee or just like a one-time only guest chef, is definitely be fearless. 100%. Yeah. That's dope, literally what drives our entire company.
That's dope.
Yeah. I mean, other random shit, like, I don't know.
That's a pretty big one.
Yeah, like that's definitely my most important one, right? Because, like,
how has being fearless led you here, though? How does that help you, though? Give me a few examples.
Well, I mean, fearless is what made me design this entire brand, right?
Well, give me a specific example. Like, I guess that's a good point.
Stepping out of comfort zones, man. Okay, throwing these events, throwing these, putting a brand out there that literally I had no idea how to actually properly run. Like, honest to God, like, when I started this company 2 years ago, I had little to no, like, actual business knowledge. Like, we launched without a website. We were just like a sole proprietor. We were just doing all this, like, random little shit that I was just fearless enough, but I was fearless, but I had enough confidence in the brand itself, and that exactly is what pushed that. So, definitely being fearless means, like, throwing these random ass events when we first started, throwing a launch party to people who had no idea who the hell we were. Calling people. That was one thing I had to do. Like, we had to call the people. Like, I had to call chefs who had no idea who the fuck I was. Be like, hey, do you want to do this event with us? And kind of just breaking out of that comfort zone of being rejected. And that's definitely, like, the fearless that pushed me to do that, I guess.
So not really giving a fuck if you get rejected.
Yeah, and we did a lot at the beginning. Like, a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So definitely it was a freaking huge learning progress, this entire thing, man. Like, it was insane. Like, I look back and I wish, like, I went to school for, like, business and administration, or I wish I did, like, those boot camps for, like, young entrepreneurs or whatever the hell that was. But I literally just built this brand off of, like, grit and grime and being fearless and stepping into places that I probably shouldn't have been. But, I mean, I did it because, like, fuck it. Like, it's not an option.
Fearless.
Yeah. Like, seriously, like, you got to be that. And now we've built that brand, and it's been, like, a little bit over 2 years, and now we have chefs that want to be fearless too, who don't want to be in this restaurant structure anymore, that they want to come and just do whatever the hell they want. So that's definitely what our entire brand is about, right? Like, we're a culinary organization. We don't have a head chef. Like, we don't have like a main person. I don't even like to put my face really like on the business. It's just about that community of fearless, crazy fucking chefs that just are doing whatever the hell they want.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's super sick, dude. I think the idea of just being able to express yourself regardless of a schedule or a dollar sign, it's like, yo, just do you, man. Like,
that's it.
That's it.
And people feel that, right? Like, we just hired this new server because like the patio was getting busy. And she said, like, she felt it, that it was just, like, a bunch of young people that are just, you know, they're just collaborating and just letting, like, you just feel, like, you feel it right when you walk in there.
Is your patio live? Like, there's a good amount of people?
It's been fucking crazy.
Are there cute girls that come through?
Oh, yeah. I don't want to get too deep to it on camera, but
no, that's okay.
You got to check it out, man. It's a beautiful freaking patio. And, like, I knew that at the second...
you guys still hiring or what?
We might. But no, man, like the patio has been freaking crazy. Like, I've actually been struggling a lot these last 2 weeks to keep up with like my administration work, social media, which is a huge like, we prioritize social media just as much as we prioritize like food and drinks and service at the restaurant, because with our concept, with new shit going on every day, like social media is huge.
So how do the menus come out? Is it like for the month it's released, or it's like...
Yeah, it's a good question.
Every day you just have to check?
So we release monthly schedules, but for the actual menus itself, we go week by week. So on our website, we'll update the entire menus for the entire week. So from yesterday till Sunday, you can see the entire menus for everything we have going on then.
Oh, that's dope.
If it's like a one-day only special event, like we have like this like big, like well-known chef come in, they're just doing a one-day takeover, we'll promote that menu like a month in advance. But
that's dope.
And then we post it every day on our social media too.
Dude, so you just said that there were a few things that you had learned from starting, like just learning about business. You didn't know fuck all. What's like one or two things?
Well, huge was just like the actual, just like the accounting system itself was massive, like the taxes and all that type of shit. Yeah, it's freaking crazy. Like, I ended up downloading this accounting program called Wave, which was a big help, and I definitely would recommend it to anybody. I'm kind of crazy. Like, I do like all my own bookkeeping, my accounting, my profit and loss.
Do you just not want to like leave it to anybody else?
Well, I have an accountant, and he helps me with the shit that I still don't know, like, you know, like taxes and stuff like that I'm still learning. Yeah. Right, cool. And eventually I might, but I'm just still at that point where I like to kind of have my hands on everything still. But definitely that was the biggest thing, you know, learning about payroll and the taxes on payroll. Like, taxes is the biggest freaking thing of all. Like, taxes is everything. Like, no matter what you do, you're paying the government. You're paying your employees, you're paying the government at the same time. You're bringing in money, you're paying the government. You're putting out money, you're paying the government.
It's just a legal mafia. Like, it's just a mob, bro. Like,
it's
just a mob tax.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy. So taxes and learning about like proper taxes is definitely like the biggest thing. And just... yeah, like that was just all a work in progress. Like, we really launched like underground. Like I said, we didn't have a website. We actually didn't even have like insurance when we started. Like, we just started this like little underground movement. And then of course over time we had to really jump into that type of shit. And then like the importance of like incorporating your business and all that type of shit. Like, it's just a lot. But and there's still so much other shit that I probably still have to learn as well too. But it's a work in progress.